Donc, pour le prochain talk, je vais devoir switcher en anglais, vu que notre speaker, il va plutôt nous faire une présentation en anglais. À moi donc. Donc, for the next speech, it will be with Mesut Durukal. Donc, Mesut worked more than 7 years as test engineers in defense industry and on multinational projects. He's now project owner and lead automation in a QA team. So Mesut is currently in Japan, and due to technical reasons, talk will be recorded, and he's here. He's already here. I don't know if you see it. He already interact in the chat. So he will be able to interact with you and answer directly to the Q&A section after that live. So just after the speech. So I will now start the video of Mesut. So is my QA team successful decided with metrics? So let's see it together. Let's start.
Hello, welcome everyone. I'm very happy to be a part of this amazing conference, and in this session we are going to talk about some monitoring activities and some metrics to use to successfully manage our QA activities. Before deep diving into the subject, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Mesut and I'm from Turkey, and I'm a QA engineer with more than 12 years experience, and I'm working for Siemens Istanbul office, but you are seeing another company in the slide because in a couple of days I will move to Japan, Tokyo, and I will start working for Rapid Robotics. That's why I'm making this talk to you, to ParisTest conference. But in the day of the talk, I will attend to the conference and I will answer to your questions live. So I will be in the Q&A session, maybe in the middle of the night in my local time, but still I will be there to meet to you. And here you can find some contact information for me, and please do not hesitate to reach out to me, and just feel free to contact me. And this is the brief agenda for this talk. After a quick introduction, we will go over the metrics and how we can optimize them, and how we can customize our environments to fully reflect the results from our environments. And we will go over the categories of the metrics, what kind of metrics that we can track and we can control. And finally, I will share a practical application on which we will see how we can automate all these activities and how we can automatically execute our monitoring activities, and how we can automatically transform the results collected from our environments to some monitoring screens, to some graphs, to some panels, and we will see some examples, and then we will close the session. So let's start with the introduction section, and first of all, let's discuss why should we have some monitoring activities to manage our progress or to manage our processes. I will illustrate this issue with a real-life scenario. Let's imagine we are driving from one place to another one with our vehicle, with our car. So in this journey, we are continuously tracking some metrics, right? For example, we can see the speed, we can see the internal temperature, the pressure in the tires, the level in the level of the gas in the tank, and there are lots of metrics that we are continuously tracking, right? Because this is why cars have some monitoring panels in front of us, because otherwise we can find ourselves in some unexpected situations. For example, if you do not continuously track the level of the gas in the tank, then you can run out of the gas suddenly. Because if you are not aware of the fact that the gas is decreasing, then you would not have the needed action item. These are the advantages of monitoring activities. These monitoring activities enables you to make a current evaluation. For example, you can see the current level of the gas, and enables you to make a future estimation with a linear projection. I mean, if we see that we went 100 kilometers with the half of the gas, then we can assume that we can go another 100 kilometers with the rest, right? Because it's just a linear estimation. But if we do not do this linear projection or further estimation, then we will not be able to take the needed action items. So from these two perspectives, to be able to make a current evaluation and to be able to make a future projection, we should utilize these monitoring activities. And in our projects, it works very in a similar way. For example, let's again go with an example. If, let's say, in the middle of the sprint, at the end of first week, if we completed only 1/3 of the test cases, then we can assume that in the second week, in the second half of the sprint, we can complete another 1/3, right? So we will not be fully completing the whole set. So we can take some action items. Maybe we can prioritize the test cases because now we are aware that we will be completing only 2/3 of the test cases, not all of them, because we make our current evaluation. At the end of the first week, we saw our progress, and we make a future projection, and we understand that we will complete another 1/3 in the next week. And now we are taking an action item. Maybe we will increase our resources, or we will decrease our test cases. How we can we decrease our test cases? We cannot delete them, but as I told, maybe we can prioritize them. But somehow, thanks to these monitoring activities, we can take action items. Otherwise, if we are not able to see that we will not complete all of them, then we would not be aware of this fact, and we will not be having the action items. In this way, we can answer lots of questions. I will not go through all of them, but after collecting some evidences and some numbers collected from our environments, we can interpret them, we can analyze them, and we can find some answers to our questions. For example, let's pick just one of them. For the situation of the bugs, how bad they are, or what are the priorities, or what are the severity levels of the bugs. We can collect all the results from our issue trackment system. For example, if we are using Jira, it has some open APIs to send our queries, and after getting the response, we can parse the related fields, we can parse the related values from the response, and then we can reach to our answers. For example, we can take their priority levels, we can take their distribution across different features or services, and in this way we can understand which service is in a good situation, or which service or microservice is in a bad situation, or we can understand what percentage of our bugs are in high priority levels, or what others are, or what percentage are in the low severity levels, and we can understand and we can collect some insights about our processes as well. And apart from getting answers to our questions, we can get some further implications. For example, we can take decisions for the next phase of our activities, or they stand as evidences for us. I mean, sometimes we are going to our managers and team leaders to express our situation, right? To represent them our progress. Of course, they trust to us, and when we say that we are in a good position, we are making a good progress, then they will believe us, they trust us. But in addition, they will want for some numbers and some evidences, right? And in this point, we can provide these numbers and these evidences which are collected from our monitoring activities. And after this introductory section, let's move to the quality metrics. And let's start discussing what kind of improvement items we can do, and what kind of quality metrics we can track to control and monitor our quality activities. First of all, what kind of metrics we can track? Let's start with this. Of course, there are plenty of them, maybe dozens of thousands of metrics that we can track. But trying to cover all of them does not make sense, because we cannot or we will not be able to cover all of them. So at this point, what we can do is to be selective and decide a subset of metrics to track, which are serving to our goals in the best way. For example, if my main concentration is the average duration for each test case execution, then I will pick some metrics which are serving to this purpose in the best way, which are representing the average duration in the best way, and I can continue with this subset of metrics because I cannot go with all of them. So I can select maybe the average duration for each test case, or the execution start time, end time, a few metrics, and I can continue with them. At this point, the first key point is to be selective and decide for the best metrics that can serve to our or my purpose in the best way. But how can I be sure that I decided with the best set? I can use some criteria to be sure about the correct metrics. For example, I can check their correlation. If they are behaving independently from each other, then maybe it is not the best choice. Or I can check their consistency, and I can check if they are trackable or not, and predictable or not, and I can check lots of other criteria. So I can make a checklist for me to see if they are the best metrics or not, and according to my checklist, I can decide to my subsets. And after I decide that, my second key point is to customize my environment. I mean, normally, if I continue with the default configuration, then maybe it will not be fully transparent, because the only thing I want to do is to improve the visibility and the transparency in our environment. So I can customize my environment, my tools, my platforms in order to represent the progress in the best way. I mean, in the slide, I put an example, and you see the all the status of the issues in our life cycle. We use Jira for the issue track system, and normally we have a couple of status for the items. Normally it is at the beginning it is open, and then it is in progress, and at the end it is completed. But now we see lots of status, right? Because I want to see all the state transition points, and when it is under design progress, and after the design is completed, we put it into review progress, and I want to see all of them. So by using the API of the Jira, I customize this status, and I added a few extra status, because I want to see that when the test is being designed by the test owner, then I want to see that it is in design status. And in this way, I can see how long a test design procedure lasts, right? When it is in design and when it exists in design, which means that it is now in design status, then I can measure the interval between these two. And I can calculate the time needed to design a test case. And similarly, when it is in implementation status, up to going to implemented status, I can measure the time in between these two, and I can calculate the time needed to implement a test case. And by a cumulative analysis, I can measure my average implementation duration for the automated test cases. So instead of just using the default values, we can customize our tools and platforms and our life cycles to fully represent and to fully reflect our progress in our environments. For example, here we can see two examples. As I told, for me, the average execution duration was very important, because we had some testing windows, and it was a very limited time, because nowadays we can all understand that there's a great rivalry in software market. Everyone is trying to be first in the market. So we have very limited verification time, right, before going production. So sometimes we feel under stress, and to decrease our testing window, the average execution duration was very critical for us. So one of the metrics that we followed continuously was the average execution duration. So for this purpose, for example, in the Jira API, we add some additional fields to track. And for example, for the code review activities, for the branches, we followed the creation time of the branch and merge time of the branch, and by subtracting one from the other, we were able to calculate the merging time, the code review time, which was elapsed to merge a branch. After selecting the metrics and customizing our environments, the next thing that we can do is to categorize the metrics that we are following or tracking. For example, the first category or the first group of metrics that we can discuss is the time-related metrics. For example, we can follow the average time to test a feature or to test a fix, and in this way we can understand how much time we need after a fix is done, after a fix is applied, and how much time we need to test our regression set. Or we can track as well the average time to test the full set. And in this way, we can understand how much time we need to test the whole functionality before going production. And similarly, we can follow some other metrics as well, like mean time between failures or mean time to failure, and some mean defect resolution time, and lots of other metrics in terms of time-related issues, and we can group them under the time topic to successfully manage them and easily manage them together. And the other category that we can construct is the cost-related issues. This is one of the categories that we continuously track most, right? Because all the managers are really interested in the cost-related metrics, the cost-related values, and they're trying to understand if the cost is increasing or decreasing during the whole life cycle of the QA activities. For example, they are wondering about the total allocated cost for the QA teams and the cost for the tools and licenses, and how much headcount we have, how much resources we have, and how much cost we need to perform all these activities. And we are searching for some adaptations and for some solutions to decrease these cost-related issues. So we can continuously track these numbers, and we can check if our solutions worked well to decrease these numbers or not, or what kind of parameters are affecting these costs. After adapting some solutions, maybe the costs are increasing. Maybe the platform we are using is increasing our cost. So maybe we can replace this solution to another one, and we can interpret all the effects of the solutions that we are using or all the tools, platforms that we are using, and maybe if they are affecting our project and our cost in a bad way, then we can replace them with some other solutions or some other adaptations. And we may have some quality metrics as well. For example, to reflect the quality, of course, maybe the best thing that we can track is the bugs, because the bugs are reported by the customers or end users. Of course, if it is in the production environment already, or maybe they are the bugs reported by the development team members, but still they are the most critical issues which are representing some insights about the quality of the product. Because if we have some vulnerability on the product, or if we have some weakness on the product, those are reported by the bugs. So we can understand the situation of the product or the situation of the quality from the bugs. If we have lots of critical bugs, then we can understand that there's something wrong, right, on our processes or on our product. Or otherwise, if we do not have very critical bugs, or we have only low severity bugs, then we can understand that the processes are going well and the product is in a good quality. We can discuss more in the next slides. We can show what kind of distribution of bugs we can have, and what kind of insights we can collect from the bugs. We will discuss this, so I will skip this for now. And some other metrics we can have about the inner quality. Let's discuss at this time the inner quality metrics. What I mean by inner quality, the other bugs and the other metrics representing the quality as the quality aspects are mostly related to the outer interface. I mean, which are touching to the end customers. But even if the customers are not aware of the quality of the code itself, even if they are using the product from outer interfaces and they are not seeing the code developed inside the product, still it is very critical to have a good quality on the code itself. Because we may have some maintenance effort and some refactoring effort if the code itself is not in a very good quality. And for this purpose, we may have some different metrics. For example, we may have the code complexity and code coverage and some other metrics which are representing the quality of the code itself. And now let's discuss what kind of insights we can collect from the bugs. We can monitor the distribution of bugs across different parameters, for example, across different components of the product. For example, in our product, we have lots of services and microservices developed inside the platform. So if we distribute the bugs across those services, and if it is not a homogeneous distribution, if one of the services has much more bugs compared to the other ones, then we can understand that there is something wrong on that service, right? And we can go to the responsible guys and ask them to check if there is a wrong configuration on their service. Because all the other services has a kind of range of bugs, a number of bugs, but their service has lots of bugs in it. So maybe there's something wrong in the configuration or in the deployment. So we can understand and we can understand the anomalies on those specific service. Or we can distribute the bugs across their severity level. And if we have lots of the bugs in the high severity levels, then we can understand that there is something wrong about our processes. Or maybe we can distribute the bugs across the testing types. For example, we can show the bugs coming from functional tests, or we can show the bugs coming from performance tests, documentation tests. And if, again, we don't have a homogeneous distribution, we can understand something about the processes as well. If most of the bugs are coming from documentation testing type, then maybe we can understand that the documentation process is skipped in our processes. So it will be a good way to collect some insights and some idea and some feedback about our processes as well, in addition to the product and the functionality of the product. One more metric that we can track about the bugs is the escaped bugs, or the percentage, the number of the escaped bugs, because it is very critical. It is of great importance because escape bugs means the bugs which are not caught in time, but reported by the end customers or the end users, so in the later stages. So if we are not able to catch the bugs in our development or deployment activities, our verification activities, so it means that we are not able to catch the bugs in time. So we will face them, we will encounter them in the later stages. So they are not desired situations. The escape bugs are the not desired bugs, the not desired situations, because maybe on that time when they are reported, it would be too late to apply our fixes, because maybe the product would be already in the production environment, or absolutely it would be much more expensive to apply our fixes. So we can track the number of the escape bugs or the percentage of the escape bugs per the total number of the bugs reported in the verification activities and the production environment cumulatively. So in this way, we can understand how efficient our QA activities work. And after all these categories, we can construct some metrics which can be regarded as the combination of others. For example, we had some time-related metrics, we had some cost metrics and some quality metrics. But when we measure or calculate the other metrics per some other ones, then we may have some metrics which can be interpreted as the combinations of the others, and in this way we can have some efficiency related metrics as well. And apart from all the technical metrics, we can have some emotional metrics which can reflect the satisfaction in the team, because it is very important. Even if we have a good quality in our processes, in our products, if the team members are not happy, then it doesn't make sense, right? Because the projects can change, the product can change, but in the next one, in the next round, we will have the same colleagues in the team. So it is very important to build a satisfactory environment and a happy environment, a collaborative environment in our team. So we can have some metrics to understand how is the situation in this aspect. And it is not that easy to calculate these metrics, because unlike the others, we don't have any absolute grades and absolute measurements on this aspect, but still we can have some surveys and some interviews with the teams, with the team members, with the colleagues in the team, and we can somehow understand the satisfaction level in the team, and we can continuously track the emotional metrics. We can continuously try to understand how happy the team members are, or how they are looking to their future in the team or in the project. And finally, apart from the metrics that contribute in the procedure in the positive manner, we may have some hazardous metrics, and we should be careful about them. For example, the story points, sometimes they may be misguiding. For example, if we have a number of teams, and if we are comparing the performance of these different teams by their story points, which they performed in within a sprint, or the bug number they found in a sprint, they may be misinterpreting. I mean, it is not the right way to compare the performance of different teams with these metrics. In the last part, let's see how we can automate all these monitoring activities. And in the slide, we can see an example to how we can develop a code to perform some queries. For example, in our project, we were using Jira to track our issues. But even if it is Jira or any other tool and platform, most of them have some open API. So we can develop some code to perform queries, because continuously performing these monitoring activities is manually is very cumbersome, right? We cannot do this frequently manually. So we can develop some code to do this frequently and continuously. And after developing this code, we can execute this automatically or on our pipelines. For example, after developing this code, we can integrate the code into our pipelines, and we can schedule jobs to periodically run them, and we can collect the results and responses coming from the servers. So in this example, we see that we are performing a query which pulls all the issues from the server. And then on the response, we can parse the fields or values that we want to track. For example, we can parse the resolution time for each issue and the creation time for each issue. And after I get these two, if I subtract one from the other one, I can reach to the resolution interval, right? Because I know the creation time, I know the resolution time, then I can reach to the resolution duration or resolution interval. So I can track the metric that I want to follow in this way by developing this code and integrating to my pipelines. And after getting all the responses and all the results, I have to store them somewhere, right? And instead of storing them in my local environments, I can upload them to some platforms and to some services. And in our case, we can use the CloudWatch, which is a service of the AWS. And after we upload them, we can easily store them in the server side, and we don't have to worry about the maintenance of all this data. And finally, after getting all the responses frequently and continuously and uploading them to servers, the last thing that we can do is to transform all these numeric values to some monitoring graphs or monitoring charts. And we have lots of platforms and tools to do that. For example, Grafana is just an example, but we may use some other tools as well to serve like this. But what we are reaching, or what we can utilize from these tools, is to make a good visualization. I mean, instead of just looking to some numeric values and some numbers, now we can see what's going on in our environments in a much more easier way, right? Because maybe it is not easy to follow all the numbers in front of me, but if I transform them in some graphs on some charts, then it would be much more easier for me to understand, to interpret what's going on in my environments. I can easily see if the numbers are increasing or decreasing, because they're all in front of me on the screen. And I can set some limits and some threshold values, and if the limit is violated, then I can raise some alarms, right? Maybe the lines can change the colors, and I can really easily see immediately and suddenly what's going on in the fields. I can make my current evaluations if the numbers are in a increasing trend or a decreasing trend. I can interpret what's going on, and I can make some future estimations. If the numbers are decreasing, then I can estimate the future of the trend, and I can take some action items in this way. So in the final part of the presentation, let's talk about what we discussed, and let's quickly summarize what we discussed in the session, in this talk. We talked about the importance of monitoring activities and the advantages of monitoring activities. We discussed that they enable us to make a current evaluation, and on the other hand, to make a future estimation. And to be able to manage this in the best way, we went over some good practices, some best practices. For example, we discussed that we are not able to cover all of them, but instead we can select some of them according to our selection criteria and according to our checklist, and we can decide on the subset which serves to our monitoring goals in the best way. And then we discussed that we can customize our platforms and our environments to increase the visibility and transparency, right? Because if we go with and continue with the default values, maybe we will not be able to see each step over which we are proceeding. But if we customize it and add some additional checkpoints and some additional reflective points, then we will be able to see everything and every process that we are proceeding on. And to be able to easily manage all the metrics, we can categorize them, we can construct some groups to make or to collect similar ones together to manage them. And instead of continuing with specific ones of them, we can hybridize them, and we may continue with some metrics which are the combination of some others. For example, instead of calculating the absolute time, maybe we can calculate the time per test case, right? Maybe we can calculate the average duration for each test case. So instead of absolute measurements, we can continue with some combinational metrics as well. And finally, whatever we are following or whatever we are tracking, what we should do is to interpret the results. I mean, okay, the metrics and the monitoring activities give us some results, give us some numbers. But what does what do that numbers are standing for? We should be smart enough to interpret for what purposes the numbers are standing for. If the numbers are increasing, what should we do? Or if the numbers are decreasing, what should we do? We should interpret and analyze all the results. And because monitoring activities itself does not contribute to our processes, we should be utilizing those results coming from these monitoring activities and to take advantage of all these monitoring activities. And in this way, we can take the needed action items, and we can improve the quality of our products and the processes as well. So thank you very much for listening to me, and now I will be more than happy to answer your questions if you have any. So thanks again, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, Mesut. So Mesut are you here?
Hello, yes, I am. Hi.
Hello, Mesut. So
Hi.
thank you. The talk was really interesting. Now we can go further with the questions. We have a first one from Lisa.
Mhm.
So the question is about, so you collected a lot of data around the cost of testing. Did you also collect data about the cost of coding?
Yeah, actually, we had a separated QA team. So I was in the QA team, which is a separated one from the development team. So the one that I was directly concentrated on was the testing monitoring activities. But I'm pretty sure that we had some monitoring activities for the coding activities as well. For example, they had some refactoring percentage metrics, or the duration to implement the algorithms or the code itself, the piece of the product. But as I told, personally, I was mostly concentrated on the testing side.
Thank you. The second question is a really interesting one. Is about the quality metrics as a company objective. Is it your case? Did you use these metrics as the company objective today?
Yeah, actually, in my company, there was a organization as the head quality division. So they had some goals, and they were watching all the projects and collecting data from all the projects. They were collecting the metrics collected inside the projects, and we had some QMIP responsibles in the project, which is the quality manager in project role. In each project we had that role. We had some colleagues to perform these activities. So as the company objective, we collected each progress and each data from different projects, and as a whole we collected all them in a pool. Yeah, that was one of the company objectives.
Thank you. As a tester, how do you measure that you have been useful to your team?
Yeah, actually it is a tricky one, but there are again some metrics to understand it. And my favorite one is perhaps the percentage of bugs reported in the development stages to escape bugs. We went over the escape bugs during my presentation. So it is the bugs reported by the customers or end users instead of the developers or the testers. So if we are catching the bugs in time, then we are reducing the cost of fixes. So it is a good measure to understand if we are performing properly, and we can use some other metrics as well in the similar fashion.
And I want to ask the question directly today. How much are you good on this metric? Are you satisfied with this metric?
Yeah, because the concentration and the main motivation is this one. I mean, we track some progress and we track some data, and if we see that there are some improvement points on some of them, then we try to do something. And I saw some other questions related to this we can discuss later. But if we see something to do, then we apply some action items and see the result, if it works or not. So about the escape bugs, we discussed what we can do more, what we can do further to reduce the number of escape bugs, and we tried to increase our test coverage We try to improve our test scenarios, lots of things, and we analyzed the bugs coming from customers, why they have some bugs, because normally we were supposed to catch those, right? But why did we miss them? We tried to understand the reasons, and we detected that some of the customers were using some different environments from us. For example, I'm executing the test case in a certain environment, because, for example, we had some hardwares and some other versions, but the customers were using a different version or a different combination of operating systems. In short, a different environment. So we tried to improve our test environment by covering different data ranges, different execution environments, and lots of things. And I can say we really reduced the number of escape bugs now.
Good, thank you. The question after: how do you track the team satisfaction metrics?
We have some periodic surveys which were asked from the colleagues to be filled, and containing lots of questions. For example, are you happy with your manager or leader? Or are you happy with your teammates? Or do you have any distractions? Or what kind of problems you have? Lots of questions. Trying to understand what are the feelings or the situations of the emotional situations of the colleagues. So we try to understand the situation in this way.
So if I understand well, is with asking good questions, maybe in
Exactly.
a good steps.
Exactly, but I agree, it is not very easy, because as I told in the presentation as well, for the technical part you can measure the time related issues, you can measure the numbers, the test case number, the bug number, but for the emotional side, yeah, that we don't have any concrete numbers.
Yeah, it's
But as
more
you told,
subjective.
exactly, but as you told, if we are asking the right questions and sincerely, if we are getting the correct responses, then we will get some insights.
The second, the question after: so are those metric requested by the top management, especially for the QA, the QA testing metrics? I think that you already answer a part of this question.
Yeah, it is, as I told, it was a part of our company goals and the strategy, but I cannot say that those metrics are requested by top management. They were not mandatory, but they were mostly for us, for ourselves, because they were reflecting our progress, and we were able to find the improvement points in this way, because if we interpret the numbers, we can analyze what kind of further improvements we can have. So it was mostly for ourselves as well.
Good. So Al-Hussein, I have also another question. Are those time delays metric can be used to push forward teams to shift left testing?
Again, I cannot say we should push forward teams to shift left testing, but we can understand the root cause of the delays. First of all, why we had some delays. If the solution is to perform the shift left testing activities, then okay, we can do that. But if the root cause is something else, then we can concentrate on the solution, the according solution. So what we did is, let me describe our situation. In my team, we were mostly trying to perform 100% automation. We were trying to automate all the test cases. And we were trying to reduce the automation time and the execution time. So if one test case were being executed slowly, then we were trying to understand why we had some slow test cases. If we had redundant calls, or if the endpoint is not working properly. So we were investigating the technical background, or some other root causes for these delays. And after we find the root cause, then we were trying to perform the related solution. So it depends on the problem itself. If the correct solution is shift left testing, then okay, perform it. But if something else, then we should develop our own solution, I can say.
I really like this approach to really see what is the problem before giving a solution. So address the good answer with to be able to see that this is the solution for this problem and not in the other sense.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have now a question from Gianni. If you can only follow one metric to track the quality of the product, which one would you pick?
It's a very difficult question, and I would not pick one of them. but if I should really pick one, then most probably it will be something related to the bugs, because I see the bugs which is representing the situation of the product in the best way. I mean, maybe the severity levels of the bugs. If we have too many high severity bugs, and high priority bugs. And at this moment, we can perform a risk management approach as well. For example, we can measure the likelihood of the bug for the occurrence of the bug and risk of the bug, because will it affect in a big fashion or not? We can make lots of analysis on the bugs, but at the end, perhaps something related to bugs would represent the situation of the product in the best way, I believe.
Thank you. Another question from Lisa. When the time to test something seems too long, did you take action to decrease the number, such as practices to prevent bugs like test-driven development or BDD? This is similar to Al-Hussein questions.
Yeah, partially we discussed the answer, and I will repeat myself, but we developed the related solution. So, and especially for BDD, yeah, we tried to perform BDD in our project, but personally, I was not, the BDD was not my favorite approach. So, yeah, we tried partially in our projects, but not all the time. So it depends on the problem itself. So for our case, mostly we dealt with the technical solutions and technical problems. How to reduce the implementation time, how to reduce the execution time, and how can we reduce the redundant calls or the fragile tests, number of test smells, these kind of technical issues mostly we try to cope with.
So interesting also, because so you make maybe you are thinking about the base, have a strong base with a robust test and robust maybe delivery process before even thinking about the shift left and BDD and all.
Exactly, because as I told, we were mostly doing test automation instead of manual testing. And if you do not have a robust test automation, then you have lots of failing test cases. And normally the feature is working properly, but your test case reports a bug. But it is not a real bug, it's a false alarm. So it causes and it results in some maintenance effort and analysis effort. Because each time when I get a failure report, then I have to understand if it's a real bug or if it is a false alarm. So we had to decrease the number of wrongly failing test cases. And we tried to reach to a robust test automation environment.
Good, good. We will take another questions. I think that we have enough time to take more three or four questions.
Okay.
So in a context of a startup or small budget, how do you convince to take time to work on all those metrics?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I like the example that I told in my presentation as well. It's like driving a car. Even if you are not tracking all the metrics, how can you proceed, right? Because we have to do that, I think, to see our progress and to see our future, the next steps. So I think we should do that. We should convince ourselves first. If we see this as a part of the development activities, then naturally we will do that, I think.
maybe it is more about the culture of the developer and the team, and to make how can we make it on the culture.
Yeah, I agree. It is part of the mindset. So it is like all the other things. I mean, like the quality mindset or like the testing mindset. Yeah, sometimes our managers or some other guys are resistant to this kind of activities. Yeah, we don't have a budget for this. Just skip this. But can we skip testing? No, we cannot. So can we skip monitoring activities? I think no, we cannot. So with building the mindset and to showing the benefits of these activities, then we can convince them, I think.
So our spectator, you have to convince your startup to change the culture.
Yeah.
Think more about the test, and that is important. So the question now we have: are quality metrics a goal for developer too, and how does their works measured?
I think it's a goal for everyone. I mean, all of us can have some progress, and how we are, or are we going good on our goals, or going with the correct speed, or in the future, or in the next stages, what we will encounter, or what kind of developments we should do. These are valid items for everyone, not only for testers, not only for developers, but everyone in the project and everyone in the team. So everyone can use related metrics to serve their goals, what they are trying to see or trying to track. They can construct a subset for them. As I told in the presentation, you can use some criteria to select the metrics to proceed with, and then you can perform your monitoring activities.
Good. Next question. So what is the importance of these test flakiness for you? Haven't seen it in your slides.
Yeah, I did not go deep in this topic because I have another speech to remove the test mass, because it is we cannot. I think we cannot talk this in a very short time. It is another topic. So and the test flakiness is very important. And as I told, I have 1 hour talk about how to remove test smells from the test automation environment. But as I told, to answer another question, it is very important, because if we do not have a robust test automation environment, then we will have lots of maintenance and analysis effort and lots of extra cost. So I think it is very crucial.
I think so. We have another question. So from Emna, do you have imposed processes that did bring important value? If yes, how you fight to propose your metric that you find most useful?
Even if for the metrics, sometimes it goes in a heuristic way, right? I mean, you try something, or you try to build a process, but sometimes it doesn't work. So yeah, I remember that sometimes we try to see the results of some processes and see that it didn't work. So we just, as an agile team, we act how we should do, and if the process was not successful or was not beneficial for us, we just updated it, or we just changed it with something else. Just similar to the metrics. If the metrics were not advantageous or beneficial for us, then we did not go with them. For example, as I told in the hazardous metrics, if for example, if you are a manager, and if you are trying to understand the performance of the teams under your responsibility, sometimes trying to calculate the story points from different teams does not work, because the team dynamics are different. So it doesn't work always. So if you should see if it works or not in a heuristic way sometimes. So if it doesn't work, then you have to update or change the way you are performing.
So it's up to you, if I understood well. So it's up to everyone, specific problematic and team and maybe even the culture of the team.
Yeah, related to the culture, related to the structure of the team, and with what other sides we are working. Sometimes from, for example, in my team in Turkey, we were working some teams in Germany, some teams in Israel, China, lots of different cultural structures. So as you told, you have to develop your own solution to optimize the flows.
Thank you very much, Mesut. I think that we'll now go on a break just to 5 minutes before our last talk. Thank you again, and see you in 5 minutes for Zoe Talk.
Thank you as well. Thanks for this great organization. See you next time. Bye.
See you.